Was he just a creep? So when I, 24F, was 17, I went to my friend, 19F, house. Run down, flea infested, bathtub falling through to the basement. No water or electric. It had belonged to the friend's sister, and since the older sister moved, the friend moved in, and soon after it was labeled condemned. We would all gather there to drink without our parents knowing. On an average day, we'd all do what we had to during the day and meet up at that house to spend the night. Every single night. Well, one day I was pretty drunk and I noticed some people had moved to the porch. So that's what I did too. I immediately sat on the ground in front of this guy, who I thought was in his early 20s, and started talking to him. I find out he has kids his BM won't let him see. He seems so sweet and kind, and we really to hit it off. Then he shows me his ID. He's 32. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Now, here's where I should add in that the legality asterisk of this relationship wasn't the issue here. Age of consent in my state is 16. However, there were some serious moral and ethical issues with this that I didn't see at the time. We dated for about a year before I moved in with him. I'd cook, clean the house every morning. It was only a trailer, and literally just wait for him to get that home. I stopped cleaning up after him when I went on the 2-week vacation with my mother and came back to our home completely trashed. I refused to do anything until he cleaned his mess, and it just never got done. Over the years, our relationship turned sour as we started resenting each other. He resented me for not working. I resented him for hours of yelling and belittling he'd do when I'd try to leave with my friends, or him convincing me I was crazy, or the way he always dodged around any point I was trying to make and just repeating, "You're not explaining anything. I still don't understand why you're mad." He's the only one that ever made me feel so irrational and angry. He introduced me to marijuana and then cocaine at age 17, and that developed into years of addiction to various substances. I only smoke marijuana now, thank goodness. Over time, he had many jobs and kept getting fired, refused to ever take responsibility for things, and refused to believe that he could ever be part of the problem. He literally encouraged me to take medication to stop getting irritated with him and arguing with him all the time. Because he was never the problem in his eyes. It was always that I was getting mad for no reason, and I was blowing up out of nowhere or just crazy and need to be medicated. This guy had me believing I was psychotic for years, even after I stopped using. We'd fight about everything. He'd treat me like his personal alarm clock. I'd have to wake up early to try to wake him up while he kept yelling at me, and going back to sleep while I was trying to get him up because we had shit to do. When he'd finally get up, he'd be pissed. He constantly complained about hating his life, and he's mad he even woke up. Then he's have me search for his socks that he never washed or kept together, and just threw anywhere in the messy bedroom. Eventually, I stopped bringing him his clothes, and he made sure I knew how useless I was, and how it was my job to do that for him. Yeah, my job after being together for 6 years, and there's no ring on this finger? Yeah, right. After 7 years, he had lost his job, moved his female friend in the house to help pay bills, started spending all of his time her, while I'd literally be waiting in bed for him. I'd hear them up all night laughing and talking, and I barely ever saw him anymore. Then we got evicted, and that's when we went our separate ways. I moved back home and finally decided to bite the bullet and just break up with him. You know what gets to me the most? Since I haven't lived with him and I broke up with him, I haven't needed medication to control my irritability or blowing up for no reason. And I don't just worry for nothing. No one else has told me I need to calm down because I'm overreacting. Honestly, I fear that he's going to prey on other teens. When I met him, he had slept with another friend who I hear was 14, 15 at the time, and two of my other friends who were also teenagers under 18 at the time. I also heard about a couple other girls he was close with that I had never met. When I asked him about this, he said they were just his friends and he didn't relate to people his own age. Red flags everywhere, I know. I often wonder if he truly meant well. For the first few years, we were like best friends and I really believed I loved him. And sometimes I feel bad for him.